Hi, welcome to Movie Club. Wanna play? Ha 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 ha. That quote was inspired by the wonderful children's film from 1988 known as Child's Play.
Mm-hmm.
Want to play a game? Also,
oh
from
my
Child's
God,
Play.
Yeah,
Came because a kid's toy, and usually there are games involved.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
The movie that we're talking about today is Child's Play. It's filled with so many great and memorable quotes.
yeah.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Want to play? You stupid bitch. You filthy whore.
Yeah,
you dumb slut. Fun stuff.
I'm gonna fucking kill you.
yeah. Classic.
Classic lines.
Yeah.
This movie is renowned for its dialogue. Today's movie is a Rocco pick,
Yes.
a rare Rocco horror choice.
Yeah, this is a.
Yeah, because again, when I saw this thing as a kid, it was not. I did not handle it well. I thought a toy coming to kill me. Like, I have a bunch of dolls and toys and shit in my room. Mm-hmm. One of them can come to life. Are you joking? That concept rattled me, and anytime I saw a picture of this thing, I had to run. So I was like, you know what? Let's confront. I've ran from this fear for so long. Let's confront it. And what I wanted to know mainly is the movie scary or is it just stupid? I know now there's a lot of Child's Play stuff where they play it real campy. You know what I mean? I genuinely didn't know. Is the first one like played campy or is it like actually a scary movie? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had never seen this
sincere
movie
or not.
I steered clear on purpose. Like I was under the impression, like, yeah, same thing of like, this is gonna be scary, and then I got to the age where this is fucking stupid. Like, I don't care about this at all.
Yeah.
So when you picked it, I was kind of like, ugh, fuck. Okay, fine. What was my review? We'll find out later. But we watched it. Let's get into it.
We did watch it. I first saw this movie when I was maybe like 6 or 7 years old. I was Andy's age. This movie, I really enjoyed it when I was a kid. It was really scary, but also very fascinating. Watching it now, I had a lot of interesting thoughts on it. Yeah, I do think this movie taps into a natural fear that a lot of people have, which is a fear of dolls. Yeah. And I never really thought about it, but I've definitely had that feeling of seeing a creepy doll and thinking like, I'm glad I'm not sleeping with this thing in my room.
Oh, yeah.
But why? Because subconsciously I'm afraid that it's going to come alive and try to kill me.
Yeah.
And that's what this movie is all about. What if that was real? So its core idea is fundamentally pretty strong. What were you going to say?
Do you remember the toy as when we were kids, they had a big doll, My Buddy? My buddy.
Yeah.
My buddy. I'm assuming they're kind of.
Is that a teddy bear? No, I'm thinking Teddy Ruxpin.
No.
It was like a boy. It was the same thing here.
Yeah, it's probably what this is based off of.
There was more than one, too. There was My Buddy and Kid's Sister, I think was the other
that was a sequel.
Yeah, there was a girl and a boy. Anyway, I just remember with My Buddy, I remember as a kid seeing commercials for that all the time, and I wanted it. I was like, oh, okay, so it's this big toy. I don't know why. It was just probably because it was on TV all the time. And then my friend at school, this is like preschool or first grade or kindergarten or first grade, something like that. I remember him saying, that's the doll they use for Child's Play. Like they use that doll to make the one in the movie Child's Play.
I can get it back on the screen.
Yeah, and that ended that for me. I was like, okay, I do not want My Buddy. I think it was based
very similar.
I think what he meant was it was based on that. But what he told me was like, that's the doll. Like what he told me was that doll comes to life in the movie. That's what Child's Play is.
Oh. I mean, it definitely even like the suspenders and the colors is very similar to Chucky.
So yeah, I was like, nope, don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say maybe my parent, I can't remember the story, but I think my parents bought it for me. And then suddenly one day I was screaming about how I didn't want that doll in my house. And they were like, oh, we already, okay. And took it back. I think they told me that when I was older. But anyway.
Interesting.
So you got a deep personal connection with this film to begin with.
Absolutely. That's why I wanted to actually confront it.
Well, my connection to this movie is that, steer clear of it. And then my kid was on YouTube when she was like 2.
Oh, no.
And it was a kid's like, wacky wiggle video, what the fuck ever. And then in the middle, they cut to a scene in Child's Play where Chucky is stabbing someone.
Oh my God.
And it fucked her up so bad.
Oh,
this is before YouTube Kids existed.
Yeah.
And so
fuck that.
Whoever made that, extra fuck you to you. Because that's still, to this day, she's 9 now, and she's like, I'm not, no.
Well, fun story then connected to Sean. Sean has experience with this because he did a video years ago where it was guide to going to SeaWorld.
Yeah.
And the joke of the video was halfway through, you hear the narrator start to have trouble with someone in the room and they get beat up and killed. And then you hear like somebody robbing them. But it wasn't intended as like a kid's video or anything like that. But to this day, you could go and look and see comments on it that were like, I was getting my kids ready for a trip to SeaWorld and we watched this halfway through. So Sean has a little unintentional, but
you've done the same thing.
It's all parents saying, fuck you. My kids were so excited. And then I heard profanity.
I didn't scar them from SeaWorld. No. Just a dumb video.
All it was some profanity, like, get over here, motherfucker.
Once you can hear it going, what the fuck? You can turn it off yourself. But cutting to visually,
that's a little different.
It's already too late.
Well,
all right, so we're gonna get into Child's Play here. You guys jump in whenever you like. The movie opens like a hard-nosed cop, hard-boiled thriller. It's actually pretty cool. Like right out the gate, this movie, it looks like a serious 80s movie. You know, it almost looks like an Oscar-worthy film. It's presented in such like a serious and cinematic way.
And that was the first kind of surprise to me. Again, I didn't know, like, are these played comedically? Are these played campy? I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know how Chucky became Chucky.
Yeah.
I thought he was a haunted doll.
Yeah, and so to see some effort immediately in was like, okay, they're making a movie. Okay.
By the way, Child's Play, this movie came out in 1988. It has like 7 sequels, like you mentioned, a TV show, comic books.
Yeah, and they've only gotten sillier.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The movie, I feel like the public perception of what Chucky is pretty far removed from this first movie.
Definitely.
Which is a very serious and straightforward film.
Yeah. I mean, this is the original Chucky. That's Chucky. Like, I mean, I wasn't prepared for that when I saw this like guy. I'm like, oh, that's the guy?
Yeah. And let me just say too, super underrated character actor, Brad Dourif. I've always loved him. You never see him mentioned and stuff. When he showed up in I think it was the Two Towers of the Lord of the Rings movies.
Oh yeah, he was the Wormtongue guy.
Yeah. I was excited to see him there. I've always thought this guy was better than they gave him credit for. Anyway.
Yeah, he plays this serial killer called the Strangler or something, and the movie opens with the police chasing him. They chase him into a department store. They get into a shootout with him. They wound him mortally.
Yeah.
But then he kind of disappears. They can't find him. Yeah. And he knows he's dying, and he finds a pile of good guy dolls.
You know what?
The buddy dolls.
I thought was fucking cool was all of the toys in the store. It's like, it just reminded me of childhood. Like, oh, this is, I walked into this store and saw these boxes. Like, it was exciting to see that.
Yeah.
It's a little time capsule just for if you grew up in that time.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
He collapses into them, and then he starts to do a voodoo ritual. The movie takes a hard turn from being kind of like cinematic and very serious to extremely campy as this storm kind of gathers. This detective who's chasing him finds him at the last minute when he's completing this voodoo ritual. The voodoo ritual causes lightning to strike the store and blow it up.
When that part happened, I was all in to this movie. I'm like, that looked fucking great. And okay, this is what I'm ready. Like,
we're like 3 minutes into the movie. The store explodes. It's like a fucking bombing went off. And yet the cop is fine, and all of the Chucky dolls are unscathed.
They made it through.
Literally, one of those dolls will later be sold to a woman. It's like, oh, the box is a little beat up. But I'll take it. It's like the box is beat up. That thing was in like a nuclear blast. How did it survive?
I'm telling you, this guy did the same shit to King Theoden in that Two Towers.
And he that's
did his
a
little
good point.
Voodoo
exactly.
curse.
It's magic. That's the explanation. It's not real lightning explosion. It's a magical explosion. Then we cut to the main character of this movie is a little boy named Andy. And he's making breakfast and watching cartoons. It's a pretty cool scene. I love when you see this is the kind of character development I like. It's just a little kid making a mess, like making breakfast wrong. You know, he's putting too much cereal in the bowl, and then he fills it with too much milk. It spills all over the place, so he doesn't care. He starts scooping in sugar, spoonful after spoonful after spoonful. Then he grabs the toast. That thing's burnt black. And then he puts it on a plate, does like an ice cream scoop of butter onto it. Like everything you could get wrong, he gets wrong. And it's kind of cute and endearing. You know, we reviewed Poltergeist last week, and that kind of started, we didn't mention this, but that one starts with a dog, like making a mess, like licking people's face to wake them up.
Yeah.
Good character development when it's just some stupid kid or a dog making a mess. This kid carries breakfast into his mom. She's sleeping. He made her breakfast in bed. And she's a good mom. She's like, oh, it's perfect. I'll eat it later.
Right.
And apparently it's this little boy's birthday. And he's really excited. He wanted to wake his mom up nice so they could get to the gifts. And they open it up. And he's been watching like cartoons and commercials for the Buddy dolls. Right. And he looks over to the wrapped box. And we all think it's going to be a Chucky doll. But it's not. It's
a pair of jeans in the biggest box ever.
It's clothes. Yeah. And he's visibly upset. And she goes, oh, I know you want that Chucky doll, but I didn't know about that and I didn't have time to save up for it because they're really expensive. Which is relatable. We all know what it's like to be broke.
Also, it gives you so much of like, okay, there's no dad in the picture.
Yeah.
She's working really hard to do anything for her kid, but she's going to save up for him. Like, it means like, she's a good mom. She's trying her best, and it kind of gives you the whole story.
This is the mom from Seventh Heaven, right?
Yes.
Okay. The one parent that wasn't a threat to the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, they cast the same dad to be in this movie, but then at the last minute had to cut him out. We never found out why.
Yeah.
He just said, woo, I can't be here. And we don't know what that was all about.
Oh, Google it if you don't know what we're talking about. Anyways, moving on. So I actually think the movie is written really tight. It's not I'm not going to say it's a brilliant movie because of the subject matter, but
I was surprised.
Yeah, from a screenwriting perspective, this is a movie that doesn't rely. The later movies rely on the popularity of this one. This movie actually had to do its work to get you to be interested in it, and it's a tightly written script.
Yeah.
So the mom knows that her son wants toys. We immediately cut to her working in a department store, and her friend comes running up. Hey, I got a guy out in the alley. He says he has one of those toys your son wanted. Oh my gosh, I have to go, but I can't leave my work.
Right.
But she risks it and she goes to leave her work. She's there haggling with like a homeless guy.
Yeah.
Where'd you even get this doll? Oh, what's it matter to you, lady? All right, how much do you want for it? Give me $50. I'll give you 10. How about 30? All right, I'll give you 30. Okay, I got the doll cheap, but I don't even know if this thing works.
Yeah.
Then she buys the doll. She goes back to her desk in the department store and her boss is waiting for her there. Oh no, I'm caught. And he's mad, but he understands, it's my son's birthday. I needed to buy this thing. I'm back now, but I need you to work later. What? I can't work later. It's my son's birthday. I need to pick him up in an hour. Well, how badly do you like your job?
Yeah, this guy's the real villain of the movie.
Yeah, this whole segment of the movie I thought was really well written because it was like she was getting things that she wanted, but it was always at a cost and at a risk, and it kept building up one after another.
Yeah.
To the point where her friend is like, you know what? I'll help you out. I'll cover your shift. Well, no, you can't work here. You're in another department. All right, I'll babysit Andy. And the mom is given like 2 hours. You can leave, pick your son up, have a little birthday shindig with him, whatever, but then you got to come back.
Yeah.
So, mom gives Andy the doll. And he's so stoked. Okay, yay. And then she goes back to work, and we immediately cut to that night with the babysitter on Andy's birthday, and now he has the Chucky doll.
Yeah.
We're like 13 minutes into the movie already, and it's already been like
pretty eventful,
pretty heartfelt. Like I'm connected to these characters already, and now we get into some scary stuff. And I'll praise Child's Play. This movie later on, it became kind of a slasher. Like I watched the most recent Child's Play, the remake in 2019, and that movie is just like, okay, Chucky's gonna kill people, and he's gonna kill them in extravagant ways, and that's gonna be the movie. And I feel like this original movie, it's not that.
No.
This original movie is more of a psychological horror movie where we've already discussed everybody has an inherent fear of dolls, that they're gonna come alive. And this movie plays on that natural fear.
Yeah.
There's also this idea that kids are kind of creepy. And so, like, the kid is saying, oh, the doll is talking to me, but the babysitter doesn't believe it.
Right.
Oh, Chucky the news is doing a report on the guy who got killed, the murderer. Oh, Chucky wants to watch the 9 o'clock news. Yeah, Andy, whatever. I said it's bedtime. And she puts Andy to bed, and she's working on stuff, and the TV turns back on, and it's just the doll watching TV. That's creepy.
Yeah.
It's not that Chucky is stalking you or trying to kill you. It's the creepiness of how did the TV get turned on, and how is the doll sitting in front of it watching?
Yeah.
Right.
I know that Chucky walked over there and did it himself, but I'm looking at it through the eyes of the babysitter and imagining being in that situation, and that's what's scary about this.
Yeah, because obviously the only person you can blame is the kid.
Yeah.
Who was saying they didn't do it. And probably that wasn't possible for him to do that, but still there's no other logical explanation. So you have to go with that.
And then even she goes back, I told you it was bedtime and you turned the TV on. I didn't do it. Chucky did it. Andy, I'm tired of that. And then we kind of switch perspectives to, I know what it's like to have somebody not believe you, to accuse you of being a liar when you know you're telling the truth. And so that is scary.
Yeah.
And there's all these parts about this movie that are kind of just about, what this movie really is about is your reality is breaking. Nobody believes you.
Right.
And you're not even sure if you believe what's going on, that this doll could actually be coming to life. And slowly over the course of the movie, the doll starts to show more signs of being human.
Yeah.
And he's the worst kind of human. He's a serial killer. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I'm kind of going off just praising the movie now, but this first scene was the beginning of that kind of psychological horror of creepiness. And then when Andy is finally asleep, we do get this stalking scene, which is, turns into kind of a slasher film where Chucky kills this babysitter.
I really like the camera in this, it was super low to the ground.
Yeah,
and
it's
his
Chucky's perspective, right?
But super smooth and really unnervingly fast. It's this guy can fucking fly. This thing's really fast.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah, Child's Play, I think, for being an 80s movie, is a special kind of horror movie where it does bend genres. It is a psychological horror movie, but then in this scene, it turns into a slasher movie where you get these classic elements of viewing the movie through the eyes of the killer. The killer is killing a young, beautiful woman, in this case, it's a babysitter, with gruesome power tools. That's always a trope in the slasher movies. They use a machete or they use a chainsaw or they use some sort of tool. And then the victim dies in a spectacular way, in a big spectacle. In this case, the babysitter's hit in the head with a hammer and then falls out a window onto a car, which she destroys.
Yeah, when this happened, I was extra in. I was like, whoa. That was a brutal... It wasn't there's so many horror movies where they just kind of cop out and it's whatever. But this was this... very impressive stunt and effect together. Very impressive.
I like Child's Play because it's kind of a serious movie. It's got a serious tone. But then you have these elements where the toy store blows up in a lightning strike. The babysitter falls out a 5th-story window and destroys a car with her body.
Yeah.
Later on, they kill a guy by turning on the gas. It's in an upcoming scene, and the whole house blows up in a very spectacular way. And then the killer is this stupid-looking foul-mouthed doll. There's a contrast to the hard-nosed realism and then the very much leaving reality and being campy and a little gonzo, I could say.
Yeah.
What do you think about the movie so far?
I will always love, I've said it a million times, stuff that walks that line of grim, serious, and the stupidest thing you've ever seen. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that as an insult. When it can walk that line and do it well, I always love that. So it having such a grim tone and kind of taking the subject matter seriously, but then doing something this outlandish. I don't know. That's always more interesting to me than choosing one side or the other.
Yeah.
So.
As the Child's Play movie go on, the sequels, and they eventually become Chucky movies because legally they can't call themselves Child's Play anymore.
Is that what it was? Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah,
right?
they sold the franchise from Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer to Universal or something, where another studio got it, but the original studio retained the name to the franchise.
So MGM disowned this movie. They released it, but they were subject matter is just not our thing. We're so upset how this played out. Even though it was a hit, I think.
Yeah, no, it was a hit.
Yeah. But they were just no. So I think by that point they had already disowned it, and Universal got all the sequel rights. So that must be what that's in reference to.
Anyways, so the babysitter dies. The police are called. Mom comes home. And of course, Andy, he knows what happened. He says Chucky did it.
Yeah.
Chucky was walking around and everybody's like, okay, thanks, kid. You're crazy. They don't even think he's crazy. They're just annoyed. They don't want to hear it. And again, it's scary because the kid's telling the truth and nobody believes him.
Now, this is what I was wondering. And I read some stuff about this and it said that the writer of this script was gonna play with the audience for a little bit longer originally, and have the audience not sure, is the kid the killer, or is like, you know, what's happening?
Yeah.
And I kind of like, obviously Chucky is such a famous thing that like we all know watching this movie,
Of course.
But I wonder if I watched this completely blind, not knowing that, would I suspect the kid?
I think about that too. Like, and maybe would that have been an even creepier movie? Like, imagine not knowing anything about Chucky, seeing this movie, going like, and seeing that it was the fucking doll, and you know, whatever. If it didn't, if that was played with in that way,
because you know, like they even like give a little hints, like, oh, the kid has the same thing on his pajama footprint that caught in the sugar. You know, all this stuff.
Yeah,
that's like maybe the kid's the fucking killer here.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I think they explore that idea in the sequels. And I had read that originally the Chucky doll, the Buddy doll, was going to be a doll that bled. This was the toy. Oh. It was a doll that you could cut and it would bleed, and you could put like Buddy brand Band-Aids back on
weird.
it.
Whoa.
And in the original treatment of this story, Andy, who's like a 6-year-old boy, does a blood pact with the doll. Like he does like, we're blood brothers. And he cuts himself and mixes his blood with the doll's blood. And they are like bonded in that way.
Oh.
And then you wouldn't know, like, is it the doll killing people or is it Andy killing people? But they kind of threw that idea out.
Interesting.
Because I think like a doll that bleeds, like you cut the doll and it bleeds, like
that's
cool, fun toy.
Yeah.
Like it's a toy for would-be serial killers.
Keep it to just peeing, please.
Yeah, right.
Mix your poop and go that way. So they carry on. This movie actually moves along at a brisk pace. It's great. So that happens, and then they're like, all right, we're just gonna try to move on. My friend is dead. That's crazy. My son is, you know, involved in this. Let's just send him to school. Andy is dropped off at school the next day, but immediately like ditches school and gets on a train and goes to Skid Row. Yeah. And you could kind of get the impression that Chucky is telling him to do this. So now the new horror element is, all right, little kid is going around all these homeless people. Hope he doesn't get murdered. Like that was scary.
Real quick, with the kid going to school, he has Chucky with him, which I thought, like, that's fucking dumb. Like, the kid's not bringing this. But then they had a clever idea, and, like, 4 other kids in the background throughout also have their Chucky dolls, too. Because before I was like, no, that would, they're doing it. Okay. You know, you had that thought.
One kid's going to do it, then all of them are going to do it.
Right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think they need another person to kill for this movie to be interesting, so they find a tweaker.
Yeah.
This is some guy that like the real Chucky when he was a person used to do crime with or something.
Yeah, this guy who left him in the van, right? Like who drove off without him.
That's
who I thought.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, what van is my question? I guess in the first 2 seconds of this movie.
The first 2 seconds, yeah, there's a part where the getaway van is, you know.
And what was the crime? We don't even know. But Chucky wants his revenge.
Yeah.
Chucky wants his revenge, so he turns the gas off in the house, and this guy has a gun. And you're afraid like Andy might get shot. It's a intense scene. But eventually this dude thinks he sees somebody and pulls the trigger on his gun and blows up the whole house. It is the biggest. It's like an action movie explosion.
Yeah, and they really blew up that house. I mean, from what I can tell, it looks fucking cool.
That's awesome.
Really putting that budget to use.
Yeah, because the budget for this movie, I looked it up because I was so curious because of the explosions alone. And it was like 10 to 13 million, nothing huge.
Yeah. You could blow up a house a lot cheaper back in 1988.
Yeah, you know, you go to a shitty city and find a shitty house, blow it up.
Yeah, I feel like in a shitty movie, they would go on this whole journey and blow up this house, and then the mom would like pick Andy back up from school, like, "Oh, how was your day?" It was fine, you know, and we spin our wheels. But no, in this movie, it hard cuts to Andy's in the police station.
Yeah,
they arrested this little fucking 6-year-old. Mom is like, she just talked to the cops last night, and now she's seeing him again. They're like, "You're not gonna like this one.
Yeah,
we got your kid. He just blew up a junkie." and I mean, they pretty much is this scene.
Yeah.
And he's like, what were you doing out there, Andy? I dropped you off at school. Oh, Chucky did it. Chucky's been talking to me. And now Andy's pissed off. He's like, come on, Chucky, talk to my parent, talk to the grown-ups, show them you're real.
Yeah.
And Chucky just uses the toy voice. Hi, I'm Chucky. You want to play? Mm-hmm. And they think Andy's crazy. And Andy whispers to his mom, like, I knew. He said that if I told you, he would kill me.
Yeah.
And it's creepy. And a psychiatrist says, you know what? We think your son is fucking nuts. let's keep him in the insane asylum for observation for the night. Mm-hmm. They use kinder language than that, but that's basically what happens. Mm-hmm. So mom takes Chucky home, and she's like, say something, talk to me. She's going a little crazy, but, he just appears to be a normal doll. But then she checks the box. The batteries are still in the box.
I loved this part. I thought that was a great reveal of her figuring out that what is going on was the batteries falling out of the thing. That was so cool.
Yeah, I think this, again, it's a well-written script. The ideas are solid, they're simple, and they're well executed.
Yeah.
She goes over, she checks the Chucky doll. Yeah, the batteries are not in the doll, but the doll was just talking to me. Talk. And she basically threatens, like, if you don't talk, she lights a fire, I'm going to throw you into the fire. And finally, Chucky talks in his normal voice and is like, you filthy bitch, you stupid whore. And she gets scared.
Which I then realize, if you're the audience for the first time, you are questioning the kid. You are not sure of what's going on. Yeah. And with the batteries is the reveal that there is something fucked up with this. It's the doll. And then, I don't know. I think that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was watching the movie this time, it occurred to me that, like, okay, up until this point, Chucky's just been like a stupid looking doll.
Yeah.
But when he finally reveals his evil persona, he's just an angry man shouting sexist stuff at a woman.
Yeah.
And that to me was both funny and sad. That Chucky is not inherently scary. He's a stupid looking 2-foot doll with like red hair. And at any other point, if I'm a guy and I see Chucky, I'm not scared of it. I'll punt this fucking thing across the room. Mm-hmm. But then when he becomes scary, he goes into angry man mode. And then even me as an adult is like, dang, I don't know if I want to fuck with that thing. He's like a mean guy.
Yeah.
And there's all this, I feel like, unspoken psychological stuff happening in the movie because, as you said, they don't really call attention to it, but there is no dad present in this kid's life.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a male mentor or role model. Yeah. Chucky fills that role. Chucky starts mentoring this kid, but he tells him to go to Skid Row and like involves him in a self-serving murder.
Right.
Now Chucky is interacting with this kid's mom and he's using abusive language towards the mother, calling her a bitch and a filthy whore. And I realized like, oh, Chucky's gimmick is just he's a shitty stepdad. Like, he's come into Andy's life and he's replaced the male role model that's not there.
That's a good point.
But he's just failing in that role in every way possible. And I feel like that is a very subliminal, scary thing. Just watching this movie and seeing how Chucky fills that role and fills it so poorly.
Yeah.
That's his villainous role. Anyways, food for thought. Think about that when you're processing and analyzing Chucky later. The unspoken family dynamics represented in this movie. Mm-hmm. So Chucky like scares the shit out of her and like runs away out of the house. And now the mom goes and she like finds the detective.
Yeah.
Which is great. She takes a taxi to exactly where he is. There's no cell phones in this movie.
Yeah, I thought he was like leaving the police station is where I don't
the
know.
scene is like a taxi pulls up and she gets out and he's like standing there. She's like, I need to talk to you.
Yeah. Good. You're right there.
Yeah, exactly. She instantly finds him.
Yeah.
And she's like, the doll is fucking real. My son was telling the truth. And the detective doesn't believe her. She's like, look at this. And the doll bit her and he still thinks that she's crazy or something. And she's like, fine, if you won't help me, I'm going to find the guy who sold me that doll. And he's like, I don't think that's a good idea, lady. She's like, I'm doing it. And she travels to Skid Row now, which is kind of a repeat of the scene we had earlier where Andy went to this shady part of town.
Right.
But now the mom is going to the shady part of town at night. She finds the guy who sold her the doll. He tries to rape her.
That was dark.
It's a horror movie. It gets scary sometimes when you're in a horror movie. But luckily the detective followed her down there and he rescues her at the last minute.
Right.
And this guy is like, I got it from the old toy store that got blown up in that lightning strike 2 nights ago. And the detective is like, holy shit, I was at that store. That just happens to be the same place I gunned down a serial killer. Mm-hmm. Anyways, that's a strange coincidence. Have a nice night, lady. The detective is not convinced at this point that anything like that the doll could be implicated in this.
Yeah.
In any
way.
Well,
why would you think that though? To give the detective credit, that is crazy. But although he did hear the ritual being chanted and he did see the lightning strike, so maybe he could have,
Yeah.
Maybe I'm changing my tune. Maybe he should have known.
Here's the thing. The next scene is the detective drives the woman home, and then he tries to drive himself home, but Chucky is in the car and tries to kill him.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah, and that's what you get for not believing.
That's
like,
what you get.
You've been dragging your feet. For me, I've always thought this part of the movie was a little bit, even as a kid, I didn't like this part of the movie, and I never understood why. And watching it now as an adult, it's because I'm pissed off that the detective is not buying into the Chucky narrative.
Yeah.
Listen, detective, you had a babysitter murdered last night, and the kid said the doll did it. The next day, the kid is mysteriously across town, clutching this doll, and he blew up a fucking house.
Yeah.
And killed the guy inside.
Yeah.
And you talk to the kid, who is very nice and seemingly innocent.
Right.
And the kid says, my doll did it.
Right.
That kid gets sent to a mental hospital, and the kid's mom, who you have been talking to for days at this point.
Who also seems normal and nice.
Who is normal and distraught and is like, I don't know what is wrong with my kid. She takes the doll home. She comes running back to the fucking police station hours later and goes, you won't fucking believe this, but my kid was telling the truth. The doll really did it, and the doll bit me.
Yeah.
You don't believe her. She goes to Skid Row, is almost raped. You save her from this sexual attacker, and this guy goes, okay, yeah, I'm the guy who sold her the doll. I got it from the place that got blown up last night mysteriously in the voodoo-induced lightning storm that you were at.
Yeah.
And he still thinks,
get out of my car, lady.
oh, man, the world is full of
I ain't got
fucking
time for this.
nutsos. Yeah. At this point in the movie, even as a child, I'm like, fucking believe it. What's it going to take?
Yeah.
Well, what it takes is the doll actually trying to stab him and choke him.
Yep.
He's driving his car, and Chucky wraps a thing and tries to garrote him.
Jumper cables, yeah.
Yeah, tries to strangle him.
He's totally taking a page from The Godfather.
He is.
Yeah, kind of surprising.
That doesn't work, so Chucky tries to cut his nuts off. Literally is like stabbing through the seat. Causes the car to have an accident, like flip over and crash, but the detective survives, and he gets into a gunfight with Chucky. Chucky's coming at him with a knife, and the detective shoots him.
Brought a knife to a gunfight.
Finally, the detective thinks that something is going on.
Wait a minute. Something seems a little fishy about this doll.
Yeah. So the cop makes it out alive, and while the cop was doing this car battle with Chucky, somehow the mom, I don't know. I don't know what happened. Cut to the mom is in some voodoo den.
Yeah. They find the guy who was who trained. What's the guy?
Yeah, she finds Chucky.
Charles Lee Ray is the guy.
That's the serial killer whose soul is in the Chucky doll.
Which, by the way, his name comes from Charles Manson, Lee Harvey Oswald, and James Earl Ray.
Oh.
They combined.
The guy who did Darth Vader's voice?
No, that's James Earl Jones. James Earl Ray is the guy who killed Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh, I like the other James Earl better.
Yeah, well, me too.
More beloved.
The Chucky, the killer who puts his soul in Chucky, he has some voodoo training, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
She has located the voodoo guru, the Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Well, when they go
of this world,
the Chucky's house and the weird paintings, which was creepy. It was pretty scary. And then that guy was painted on the wall.
Right. Oh yeah, she finds Chucky's house.
Yeah,
and it's a big voodoo painted den.
Right.
And the detective finds her there. The movie's kind of taking some leaps in the logic here. But the detective finds her there. He's like, hey, I believe the Chucky bullshit. You finally convinced me. Actually, the doll tried to kill me. B, I pulled up the file on this Charles Ray Earl Jones guy or whatever his name is. And it turns out...
Charles Lee Ray.
Turns out his rap sheet, for whatever reason, at the police station says that guy who's painted on the wall was his voodoo guru. We better go find that guy. Before Chucky does. Cut to Chucky finding this guy.
Ah, shit.
This is where the movie goes a little... As a kid, like, this is where it goes into fantasy mode.
Yeah.
The Chucky doll confronts the voodoo guru. I'm legally obligated to call him that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Angelo Papas.
And he kills him, go figure, with a voodoo doll. And it's literally like, hey, you left this doll lying around.
Should have kept it hidden.
Yeah. Oops, I got a knife. And he starts like stabbing it.
The guy has a voodoo doll of himself, I'm not quite sure.
I don't know how
Weird
voodoo
choice.
works. He probably
Weird choice. I wouldn't have done it.
working the doll out, getting it all muscular or something. I don't know. Chucky kills him with a voodoo doll and flees the scene, but the mom and the detective show up moments later and find this guy on the brink of death and basically tells the mom, like, "Ugh, Chucky's going to put his soul inside your son. Better stop him by killing his heart." Ugh. And then he dies. Okay, it's fine because the movie is like 90 minutes. We're moving at a brisk pace here. It cuts to the insane asylum where Andy is being held at and Chucky is coming for him. And we have another stalking scene. If you remember a few weeks ago, we did Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors.
Yeah.
This reminded me of that, only in the sense of how come the security is so lax at all of these insane asylums? These patients can pretty much go anywhere they want as long as they don't escape. But even then, they could still escape whenever they want.
Yeah.
Andy escapes. He's being stalked by Chucky. The administrator of the building hunts him down and is killed brutally. Chucky somehow straps some electroshock therapy
to him and just melts his face right off.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of face melting in these movies that we're watching.
It always happens to the people who run these insane asylums. Yeah. The doctors always get it the hardest in these
taste
movies.
of their own medicine, if you will.
Yeah, it's like, you're trying to help the children recover their sanity? Oh, we got something good planned for you, asshole. They make sure the doctor is an asshole so they could kill him extra brutally. I can't wait to see if they ever make a horror movie about the pandemic, what they do to Dr. Fauci. I'm afraid to ask.
Yeah, yikes. Not going to be child's play, that's for sure.
The insane asylum has like a house in it. I thought they went back to Andy's house, but I think it's still at the insane asylum.
Yes.
But it's like a living room.
I thought it was back at his house too. I couldn't figure out what was happening.
No,
yeah, it's
Andy, they have him in his what do they call it? Yeah. Where it looks like he's in.
Andy shows up in some living room, wherever it is. Chucky ninja drops in through the fucking chimney.
Yeah.
Solid snakes it right in there.
Yeah, and it's the final showdown. Basically, he knocks Andy out and he starts doing a voodoo ritual on him.
That happens.
Yeah, the doll's trying to put his soul in Andy's body. Mom shows up at the last minute. She stops it. She throws Chucky into the fireplace. He burns.
That wasn't their house because of the elevator. That wasn't the house?
Maybe it was the house.
I thought it was their house.
Yeah.
It just begs the question of how did Andy get back home from the insane asylum?
Well, the doctor was dead. What's he going to do?
Yeah, but how? But Andy
kids doctor's dead.
Did he hail a taxi and be like?
I don't know.
Did he walk? It is like an instant cut. Like I'm in the insane asylum because now I'm in my house and Chucky's here.
Uber kids.
You see the elevator, which I thought was a cool looking. It was just like the elevator was cleared. You could she was trying to race it down, trying to stop Chucky. Like a lot of it was cool looking. So yeah, they're definitely back home.
Maybe all right. So they're back. They're back at the house. However they got there.
Yeah, they're back there.
They burn Chucky, and you think that kills him, but it only makes him look scarier. Mm-hmm. And then they shoot him to pieces with a gun. And then he's all blown apart to pieces. Mm-hmm. And then a random cop shows up at the very end.
His partner,
this is the final scene of the movie. They introduce a new character. It's basically bunch of doll pieces around here. It was fucking real. And the doll came to life. Don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
Huh. The doll came to life, huh? What do you think of? Oh, God. Oh, God. And the doll starts trying to kill him. And they're like, aim for the heart. And the detective pulls out his gun and blows Chucky away, shoots him in the heart. And the movie literally ends. But they look at this detective and they go, you believe us now? And he goes, I believe you. But who's gonna believe me? Credits. The whole movie encapsulated in one line.
Yeah.
Boom, baby. Then that's how the old Child's Play wraps up.
Yeah.
1988 classic film.
I surprisingly liked this movie, and I try to go in with an open mind with all these movies and be like, whatever I see, I see.
But you don't like horror movies.
I don't like horror movies, and I specifically don't like Chucky, so I thought, but this was good. This was the effects were cool. The story was obviously stupid, but for what it was, they did a good job making it make sense as well as they could.
Yeah.
The thing about the story being stupid, I made a note about this because I was thinking about this. I think why this movie works so well, this is extremely dark subject matter. Yeah. When you really think about it, we talked about how this is a psychological horror film. This woman, her best friend has just died, been murdered. Her son is going insane.
Yeah.
There's no father.
Yeah.
She herself is losing her grip on reality. All of that is extremely dark. And yet it's all being perpetrated by the stupidest looking fucking shit doll.
Yeah.
And that brings a level of levity and silliness to it where it's just, this is so heavy, but it's all hinging on this fucking foul-mouthed, stupid-looking doll. It's your brain doesn't know, like, do I laugh or do I cry? I don't know. And it all kind of just blends together to be really entertaining, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, not to take it away from you.
No. I think that kind of shit is going to sound like Rocco. What the fuck are you talking about? But I think that kind of shit is why, like, anime is popular or whatever. It's like, there's some dark shit in some anime, but it's juxtaposed against colorful robots fighting. You know what I mean? It's like, I just find that, like, you got to have different flavors together to make an actually interesting story.
Yeah.
But anyways, you were saying you were surprised.
I was surprised. And I was really entertained the whole way through.
Yeah.
And
me too.
Thought I would be mad at you for picking this, Rocco. And I'm not. So pleasant surprise for me.
Yeah.
Now, do I have any desire to see the sequels? No, not really.
Yeah. I'm curious, but
I kind of felt like this is the one to see for me.
Yeah.
You know, if someone tells me, like, no, 2 is good, but it's like, no, I want to see, like, the origin of how this thing even became a thing. And
I don't think you need to see any of
Yeah.
the
Well,
sequels.
I was gonna say the reason I picked this, I got a box set that it was like $20 for all of them, and I started I got like halfway through the second one. I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I did not. I just remember there was like Bride of Chucky or something.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking Jennifer Tilly was hot, and I wanted to see that.
That one actually is regarded as kind of a departure because that's when it stops being Child's Play and it becomes Chucky. And it's more of like a comedy movie.
Yeah, I had heard that it was almost like a reboot for the series.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But anyway, yeah, I always thought Jennifer Tilly was hot, so I wanted to see that. So now I'm back on.
You know, I guess the original title for this movie was Batteries Not Included.
Yeah, I heard about this.
Which is interesting.
But they didn't, because that's a Spielberg movie. That was a thing in the 80s. It was he did an amazing. He was doing that show. We brought it up last episode. Or Amazing Stories, and he had one about like little robot things, little almost like, I don't know if they're aliens or whatever, little things inhabiting an old apartment building where all these weird people, or just old people and other stuff live, and I'm doing a terrible job selling this movie, but there was enough of a story there that they were like, hey, instead of having this be an Amazing Stories episode, we could film 2 hours of this. Like, this is a movie. And they did that, and then that killed the title for this one.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, it makes no sense because the batteries were included. So I'm glad they didn't go with that.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. They changed the title anyways.
That's
Spielberg
true.
saved them.
They didn't even stick with Child's Play.
True.
Should have called it Chucky to begin with.
True. Very true. Well, Rocco, it's your pick. Do you want to give the shakers out?
Sure. I do. I was
there
going
anything
to
else
say,
you want to say? Yeah.
they should have just called it My Buddy. Like,
They
yeah.
should
Oh,
have
hey,
called
there's my
that.
buddy. I was reading about, because I was curious, like, where did that toy go? I remember that being around a lot when I was a really little kid. And
they got great marketing with this movie.
So legitimately, this movie came out and they said sales never recovered for that
Wow.
toy. It was never meant to be an overt connection, but after this movie, it was like that writing was on the wall. That killed that.
Damn.
That pillar of that toy company. I cracked up at that. But anyway, yeah, exactly what Sean said. I always thought Chucky was ugly, shitty thing. Didn't want that. And it just seemed kind of like, yuck, this toy wants to kill people. And that's what I thought. I'm like, is the first movie like, has it been like that from the beginning? And I got my answer. Nope. I love a stupid concept taken very seriously. And they did that here. Horror's still not my thing. So this isn't my favorite movie, and I don't need to see the sequels. But again, a thing you said a long time ago, Derek, I'm always like quoting you from long ago in this show. But I remember you saying is like, if there's a series that has 12 sequels, it's always worth checking out the first one.
Yeah.
Because it must have been a good enough concept to carry
Definitely.
push those out. Anyway, no desire to see the other ones, but I enjoyed this. I'm going to give it a solid 3. I almost want to inch it above that, but I'm not dying to rewatch this tomorrow again, whatever, but it was a surprisingly solid movie.
Yeah, for me, I think I liked all the actors too. Like, I think it was great.
Oh, by the way, isn't that Prince Humperdinck?
Derek, that was killing me. I'm like, who? I know you from something. Yeah, and it's Humperdinck from Princess Bride. And then going to his IMDb, I was blown away. That's Jack Skellington, apparently.
Oh yeah,
Like I had no idea.
The voice of Jack Skellington.
Yeah,
the talking voice, right? Because Danny Elfman did the singing,
right? The talking voice is that guy, which is so weird that like Sally is Catherine O'Hara and this guy is Jack. Like weird.
How funny.
Weird. Anyways, acting was great. Movie was great. I'm gonna give it 3 shakers too, and I'm shocked that I'm doing that. Like, I really was prepared to give it a 1.
Yeah.
Wow.
When I hit play, I'm like, here we go, and then I loved it.
And then you loved it.
Very big surprise for me.
Cool. I'm also gonna give it 3 shakers. I think that's a solid, good, good review and rating of this movie.
Yeah.
I feel like Child's Play, it's almost tarnished. And lift. I mean, it has a legacy of of a whole franchise, but I think everything in the franchise sucks. And even this movie, it's not the greatest movie, but it's just good enough to warrant 7 sequels.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
The concept is that
and TV shows to boot.
Not the greatest movie ever, but good enough to have 6 sequels. That's pretty much how you sum up Child's Play.
Yeah.
I did see. I was curious, and I looked up the new show. And I watched a scene that made me laugh really hard. To its credit, it actually got me.
Was it supposed to make you laugh, or was it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It was actually funny. So they, as the series goes on, there's Bride of Chucky, then there's Seed of Chucky. He has a kid.
Right.
It's like a goth kid doll.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, I guess there's a plot in the show where the kid is confused about his gender, and there's a scene where, so there's a group of kids in this new show.
Well, let me say, there's a story in Child's Play where the doll can put his soul into humans.
Yes.
And humans can put their souls into dolls.
Yeah.
And I think multiple souls, like a guy and a girl, both had the souls put in the same person.
Okay.
Just to set the stage for how this story came about.
I didn't know that, but I was laughing really hard because one of the kids that Chucky is stalking, I guess, is having a lot of problems and stuff, and Chucky stops to talk to him. He's like, I got a kid. This ain't so bad. I got a kid. And he's like, really? You have a kid? And he goes, yeah, gender fluid. For some reason, it's Brad Dourif back in this role. For some reason, the Chucky doll stopping to go gender fluid cracked me up, and then the kid's like, "You're cool with that?" And he goes, "Hey, I'm not a monster." That killed. For some reason, that made me laugh.
I'm sorry, but the Chucky from this movie
I know. That's what I'm saying.
is not that Chucky.
I know. Oh, I know. So it's clearly not.
This Chucky is awful father.
But that
Chucky sounds like good father.
I think I'm on 2021 Chucky. Yeah.
But that cracked me. I was like, that was not at all where I expected that scene.
But I am,
not going to watch that show, but that made me laugh.
I'm happy that Chucky,
Chucky woke up.
Is woke.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm for that.
That doll definitely woke up.
Well, Derek, I think it's your pick for next week. Are we sticking with the horror, or are we going?
We're going
somewhere else.
We're going to skew an offshoot of horror. It's a movie that I've always heard of. You've heard of it. I don't know anybody who's seen it, so I don't know if this is a horror movie or not. But it might be.
Friday what?
I want to watch The Toxic Avenger.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
That's a good choice. As a kid, there was a cartoon based on that movie.
I've seen the cartoon, yeah.
Loved it because it was very Ninja Turtles. But I never knew. I was like, the movie it's based on, is it a horror movie?
We're going to find out. Right? Yeah, it's a trauma film. It's low budget. We're going to see what the big deal is with Toxie. Yeah. So watch it at home. Watch The Toxic Avenger. And then we're going to watch The Toxic Avenger. And we'll let you know what we think.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's next week. Get ready.
Yeah. Thanks for watching Movie Club. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.